Not all women do this, and not every conflict is fake or manipulative. Sometimes a real issue needs to be discussed, but in many relationships, drama becomes a pattern. The same cycle repeats again and again. A small issue appears, the emotion rises fast. The fight gets bigger than it should. Then later, everything becomes calm again. This confuses a lot of men. They ask, why did this become such a big problem? Why does peace never last? Why does she seem upset even when things are going well? The answer is not always simple. Sometimes drama is being used to get something emotional that peace does not give. That is what this video is about. We are going to look at 5 clear reasons why this happens. And no, this is not about blaming women. It is about understanding patterns, because when you understand the pattern, you stop reacting blindly. You start seeing what is really going on. Before we begin, the Stoic Tribe team is currently working on the Stoic Relationship Blueprint for Men course that's coming very soon. This course is built to transform the way you think, speak, lead, set boundaries, and handle women, so you stop living in confusion and start moving with clarity, control, and real self-respect. It breaks down everything step by step in a simple, practical way, so any man can fully grasp these principles, apply them in real life, and make them a permanent part of who he is. If you want early access to the course that can change your relationships and your life from the inside out, comment the blueprint. Number 1. She wants attention. The first reason women create drama is simple. She wants attention, and most men underestimate how much of their life is quietly arranged around other people pulling at their focus until they wake up one day mentally drained, physically tired, financially stretched, and spiritually empty, wondering why peace always seems one argument away from disappearing. And the painful truth is that when a woman notices that your attention is divided between work, pressure, family demands, exhaustion, your phone, your ambitions, and the 1,000 silent burdens you carry without applause, she often stops asking cleanly for your presence and starts creating tension, because tension gets a faster response than honesty. And you know this because the moment she changes her tone, questions your energy, brings up something small with a loaded expression, or acts cold over an issue that should have taken 2 minutes to solve, your whole nervous system shifts, your concentration breaks, your body stays in the room, but your mind gets dragged into her emotional frame, and suddenly what mattered to you 5 minutes ago is gone, because now you are explaining yourself, defending your intentions, reviewing every word you said, trying to calm the situation, and wondering how a peaceful evening becomes another trial where you are expected to prove your care through emotional labor you never agreed to perform. And this is the trap many men live inside for years without naming it clearly, because they keep thinking that if they just explain better, love better, reassure more, and become more patient, the cycle will stop. But it does not stop when drama keeps succeeding at getting her what direct communication does not get. And that is your immediate, complete, emotionally loaded attention, which means the solution is not to become colder and it is not to become more obedient. The solution is to become anchored, deliberate, and deeply disciplined with your presence, so that your attention becomes a valuable asset governed by principle rather than a resource handed over to whoever creates the most pressure. And that starts when you recognize that attention is part of your life force, part of your leadership, part of your self-respect. And when you waste it reacting to every emotional spike, you train her to believe that disruption is the key to access you. So instead you stay composed, you slow your speech, you refuse to reward provocation with panic, you address what is real, you ignore what is performative, and you make it clear through your tone and your consistency that you are available for truth, not theatrics, because a man who does not guard his attention does not guard his future. And the deeper lesson here is bigger than relationships, because the same lack of discipline that makes you easy to emotionally interrupt also makes you easy to control in work, money, health, purpose, and direction. So when you learn to hold your center, return to facts, speak briefly, and refuse to abandon your mission every time she creates emotional noise, you do more than improve your relationship. You begin rebuilding yourself into someone whose presence has weight, whose calm has authority, and whose time is not stolen by every passing demand for validation. And as you start seeing these patterns more clearly in your own life, this is exactly why the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men matters so much, because it is filled with timeless Stoic principles that help you regain control of your mind, strengthen your boundaries, and rebuild the kind of inner discipline that changes every part of your life. It is now available in audiobook version too, which means you can absorb this life-changing knowledge while taking a walk, jogging, driving, training, or moving through your day instead of waiting for the perfect quiet moment to sit down and read. This is not just another book you consume once and forget. It becomes yours permanently. So you always have access to these lessons whenever life hits hard, whenever your mind gets clouded, or whenever you need to return to clarity, strength, and direction. Deep down, you already know what it costs to stay confused, reactive, and mentally trapped in the same painful cycles, and this book is designed to give you the structure, wisdom, and practical guidance to break out of that state and start living with steadiness and purpose immediately. It is linked in the comments, and once you get it, this knowledge stays with you for life. Number 2. She wants emotional intensity. Some women do not thrive in calm for very long because calm does not always register as connection to her the way it registers as relief to you, and this is where countless men suffer in silence, because they work hard to create the very conditions they believe should make a relationship strong. They become steady, they become reliable, they solve problems, they pay bills, they stay loyal, they cut out nonsense, they try to build a life with less chaos and more order, and then instead of appreciation, they are met with restlessness, criticism, tension over minor things, and a strange sense that when life becomes smoother, she becomes harder to please, which leaves many men deeply confused because everything in their mind says peace should be the reward for effort. Yet what they experience is that peace often becomes the stage on which fresh conflict appears. And this is where you need brutal clarity. Because if you do not understand that some women confuse intensity with closeness, you will spend years trying to solve a problem that is not technical, not logical, and not practical. It is emotional patterning. And in that pattern, a quiet day feels empty. A stable routine feels dull, and a relationship without spikes begins to feel lifeless to her. So she creates stimulation by pressing on sensitive points, revisiting old issues, questioning your care, picking apart your tone, comparing your current energy to some imagined standard, and turning ordinary moments into emotionally loaded scenes that force movement. And what makes this so destructive for men is that you keep stepping into these moments as if the hidden goal is resolution, when often the hidden goal is intensity itself, which means your calm plans, sensible answers, and detailed explanations fail because they reduce the very charge she is seeking. And once you see that, your role changes completely, because now you stop performing for emotional volatility and start leading the relationship toward healthy forms of aliveness, challenge, adventure, sexual polarity, shared goals, strong routines, honest speech, physical discipline, and a life that has movement without destruction. Because a relationship that only feels alive during conflict is a relationship starving for direction, and direction begins with you refusing to let turbulence become the main source of energy between you, which means you stop chasing peace through surrender and start creating strength through order. You train your body so you are not mentally soft. You keep purpose outside the relationship, so you are not spiritually dependent on her mood. You speak with clarity instead of pleading for harmony, and you understand that a man who does not generate intensity through purpose, standards, discipline, and presence will eventually be forced to deal with intensity generated through friction. And this is where Stoic practice becomes practical rather than abstract, because you learn to separate what is under your command from what is not. You govern your reactions. You watch patterns without denial. You stop expecting another person's emotional weather to become your duty, and you realize that your peace is not passivity, your composure is not weakness, and your restraint is not absence. It is power under control. And when you live that way consistently, you stop being dragged around by every emotional rise and instead become the kind of man whose life is too grounded to be shaken by someone who needs constant agitation to avoid her own emptiness. Number 3. She wants to test you. This happens constantly, and a great many men know it in their bones long before they ever say it out loud, because they can sense when the issue in front of them is not really the issue. They can sense when her words are less about information and more about pressure, less about the topic and more about the reaction, less about understanding and more about measuring his strength, his patience, his neediness, his boundaries, his emotional control, and his willingness to abandon himself just to keep temporary peace. And the reason this traps so many men is that they still enter these moments assuming goodwill, assuming linear communication, assuming the shortest path to stability is explanation. While she is often watching for something else entirely, she is watching whether you crumble under accusation, whether you become defensive when she distorts the situation, whether you overtalk when she goes cold, whether you chase when she withdraws, whether you lose your frame when she brings tension into the room. And most men hate this because it feels unfair, exhausting, and impossible to satisfy. And that frustration is valid because life is already heavy, and the last thing a man needs after carrying responsibility all day is coming home to hidden examinations disguised as emotional conflict. Yet this is exactly why you must stop being naive about how people operate, because once you accept that many women test rather than ask, you stop personalizing every challenge and start reading the moment accurately, and accuracy gives you power. Because now you understand that the real answer is not more emotional output, it is stronger internal order. It is slower breathing, fewer words, better posture, cleaner boundaries, direct eye contact, and a refusal to let her set the meaning of every exchange simply because she raises the emotional volume. And that does not mean becoming cruel or detached. It means becoming non-fragile. Because the man she cannot shake is the man she cannot easily control. And more importantly, he is the man who stops betraying himself under pressure, which is the lesson many male viewers desperately need, because too many have spent years training themselves to be agreeable, over-accommodating, eager to prove they are good, decent, understanding, and safe, only to discover that this posture often invites more pressure rather than less. Because what gets tested is what looks uncertain, and if you look uncertain in your own values, time, standards, or emotional footing, the testing rarely ends. So the real transformation begins when you stop asking, "How do I pass her test?" and start asking, "Why am I living in a way that leaves me constantly available for testing?" Because that question drives you back to self-respect, back to a life with structure, back to standards that do not shift because someone disapproves, back to speech that is measured rather than needy, back to decisions made from principle rather than fear of losing access. And when you live like that, the effect is profound, because whether she recognizes it or not, she is now facing a man who cannot be bent by emotional pressure into abandoning his truth. And that changes everything, not because it guarantees harmony, but because it ends the cycle where your identity depends on keeping her comfortable, and from there, your life begins to open. Your mind clears, Your confidence becomes earned rather than performed, and the very situations that once broke your focus become the training ground through which you become calmer, sharper, and stronger than you have ever been. Number 4. She wants validation. A woman wants to know she matters, but many men learn the hard way that when validation is not built through healthy respect, direct affection, and consistent honesty, she may go looking for it in conflict. And this is one of the most draining experiences a man can live through, because he keeps showing up, keeps trying, keeps carrying the load. Yet none of it seems to register as enough unless it is wrapped in visible emotional reaction, which means she stops measuring your care by the stability you provide and starts measuring it by how strongly she can affect your internal state. And that is where the relationship becomes dangerous for your mind. Because now your upset becomes her evidence, your frustration becomes her proof, your agitation becomes the sign that she still occupies a central place in your world. And if you do not understand this clearly, you end up trapped in a sick equation where the more disturbed you become, the more important she assumes she is. Which is why some men walk around permanently tense, permanently careful, permanently calculating their words, because they are living with someone who interprets calm as distance and composure as lack of care. And what makes this especially brutal is that from the outside, nobody sees the slow damage done to a man who is forced to constantly demonstrate emotional investment under pressure. They do not see how it drains his clarity, weakens his focus, harms his sleep, affects his work, and slowly teaches him that his inner state is public property available for inspection every time she needs reassurance. And that is why the solution cannot be endless reassurance, because reassurance given without boundaries turns into dependency, and dependency turns into control. So the wiser path is to understand validation at a deeper level and to stop participating in counterfeit versions of it. Because genuine validation does not require you to lose yourself. It requires truthful presence, calm consistency, standards, respect, and the ability to say, "I hear the real issue, but I will not perform emotional chaos to prove your worth." And that sentence, lived rather than recited, changes a man from the inside, because it means he no longer rents out his nervous system for someone else's temporary comfort. Instead, he becomes selective with where his energy goes. He praises what is healthy. He responds to what is sincere. He leaves manipulation unanswered, and he accepts a difficult truth many viewers need to hear. Some women do not want understanding as much as they want evidence of impact. And if your whole relationship depends on her being able to disturb you to reassure herself, then your task is not merely to communicate better. Your task is to reclaim authorship over your emotional life, which is where Stoic discipline serves you again, because you learn to value inner steadiness more than outside approval. You stop letting another person define your state. You become less impressed by intensity and more committed to truth, and you recognize that the need to constantly prove yourself is itself a form of bondage, one that keeps countless men small, distracted, and hungry for permission to be at ease. So you break that pattern by becoming a man whose worth is not negotiated in arguments, whose calm is not up for sale, whose attention is guided by purpose, and whose presence offers real leadership instead of endless reaction. And when you embody that fully, something remarkable happens, because even if she dislikes it at first, you begin to respect yourself again, and that self-respect becomes the foundation from which better choices, better relationships, and a better life are finally built. Number 5. She wants control. This is the reason many men resist admitting even to themselves, because once you see it clearly, you cannot go back to pretending every argument is innocent, every emotional outburst is spontaneous, or every tense conversation is simply about communication, because in a great number of relationships, the pattern is painfully obvious. She raises the pressure, your attention shifts, your plans bend, your mind leaves its priorities, your body stays tense, your speech becomes careful, and before long, the entire emotional direction of the day starts revolving around her state. Her complaints, her silence, her disapproval, her need for explanation, and her demand that you come back into her frame until she decides the tension is over. And that is not a small thing. That is control disguised as emotional expression. And men know exactly what this feels like because they live it in tiny daily forms that slowly drain their strength. They know what it is like to prepare for a quiet evening, only to have the energy in the room change the second she wants to revisit something small. They know what it is like to be on the way to something important and suddenly be dragged into a loaded conversation that cannot wait. They know what it is like to spend more time managing reactions than building the life they are trying to build. And after enough of these experiences, a man begins to lose something precious. Not just patience, but self-trust, because he starts shaping his behavior around avoiding her next episode instead of shaping his life around his own values. And this is where the danger becomes serious, because once you begin organizing your words, schedule, tone, and decisions around preventing her emotional eruptions, you are no longer leading your life. You are negotiating with someone else's instability, and that is why this issue must be faced with complete honesty rather than sentimental excuses, because control does not always arrive through commands. Sometimes it arrives through moods, accusations, guilt, tension, strategic distance, emotional overload, and repeated disruptions that teach you one lesson again and again. If you do not respond the way she wants, your peace will be disturbed until you do. And the longer you tolerate that, the more normal it seems. Until one day you realize you are not speaking freely, not resting freely, not moving freely, and not even thinking freely because too much of your internal life is being spent anticipating her responses. And the hardest truth for many men is that they call this love when it is actually conditioning, because every time you give up your boundary just to calm the situation, every time you over-explain to stop the tension, every time you apologize for things you did not do simply to get back to quiet, you are teaching her that pressure works, and whatever works gets repeated, which means the answer is not harsher emotion, and it is not endless debate. The answer is order, and order starts with reclaiming command over yourself, your voice, your attention, your schedule, and your standards. It starts when you decide that no one gets to govern your inner state through repeated emotional disruption. It starts when you stop seeing composure as weakness and start seeing it as discipline, because a man grounded in discipline does not need to shout to be firm, he does not need to panic to prove he cares, and he does not need to collapse into guilt because someone else creates discomfort. He listens, he evaluates, he responds to what is true, and he refuses to hand over authority over his mind just because she raises the emotional stakes. And this is where practical application matters, because a viewer hearing this must not walk away with theory alone. He must walk away with a structure he can use immediately. Pause before answering. Cut your words in half. Never explain the same point 5 different ways. Do not reward emotional pressure with frantic reassurance. Speak clearly about what behavior you will and will not engage. Return to the actual facts. Leave the conversation when it turns circular. Revisit it only when respect returns. And keep building a life outside the relationship that strengthens your body, sharpens your mind, improves your finances, and deepens your purpose, because the man with no mission beyond keeping her satisfied becomes highly controllable, while the man with a grounded life cannot be easily pulled off center. And this is one of the deepest Stoic lessons a man can live without ever naming it, that your peace depends less on changing other people and more on refusing to surrender your judgment to their impulses. Refusing to let another person's instability become the ruler of your choices, refusing to trade your dignity for temporary calm. And once you truly live this way, something powerful happens. Because the same situations that once made you anxious now become moments of clarity. You begin spotting manipulation faster. Your body stops reacting with panic. Your words gain weight because you no longer throw them around trying to win approval, and you start understanding that your life changes the moment you stop asking how to manage her and start mastering yourself. And from there, the path becomes simple, even if it is not easy. If she respects boundaries, peace becomes possible. If she refuses boundaries and keeps reaching for control through drama, then you finally have the strength to see the relationship for what it is. And that clarity, however painful, is a gift. Because a man who can see clearly can choose clearly, and a man who chooses clearly stops wasting years in patterns that hollow him out from the inside. Which means this lesson is not just about dealing with women. It is about ending the era of your life where you abandon yourself to keep someone else comfortable. It is about becoming unshakable in thought, disciplined in speech, clean in action, and so rooted in self-command that no amount of emotional pressure can steal your direction again. Most men do not lose themselves in one big moment. They lose themselves slowly through confusion, guilt, weak boundaries, and years of living against their own conscience. And that is exactly why the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men matters, because it is filled with timeless Stoic principles that can transform your life immediately and pull you back into clarity, strength, and self-command. It is now available in audiobook version, so you can listen to this life-changing knowledge while taking a walk, jogging, driving, training, or moving through your day. And the moment you get it, it is yours for life, which means this wisdom stays in your hands whenever you need to return to it. A lot of people benefit when men stay distracted, emotionally dependent, uncertain, and easy to control, which is why knowledge that makes you stronger, calmer, and harder to manipulate is the kind of knowledge too many people hope you never truly apply. If you are ready to reclaim your mind and your life, comment "No more drama," like this video, and subscribe so more men can find these truths before they lose years they can never get back.